Welcome to the Orlando Sentinel's editorial board interview with Jossue Lorenzo, who is running for Osceola County Clerk of Courts, a wide-ranging job that includes maintaining records for criminal, civil, and family courts, as well as serving for the records custodian and comptroller for the county commission, among other duties. He's facing Democrat Kelvin Soto, who's completing his first term in office and was not able to join us due to official duties. He graciously urged us to proceed with Mr. Lorenzo, who has 20 years as a deputy sheriff, assigned to the courthouse since 2011, and previously ran as a Democrat in 2020. Mr. Lorenzo, just to dive in with questions, this office has a troubled history, with the previous incumbent facing accusations of nepotism and mismanagement. Do you believe that that criticism was accurate?
You know, there was other issues. Nepotism was not really a thing, really, for law. You know, there's loopholes that you can get around it. So technically, there was no nepotism. But there was a lot of controversies. Yes, I agree with that. But nepotism, no. If it would have been a nepotism issue, there would have been some charges. There would have been some issues. But those are just allegations. But there was other issues during the past administration that had to be looked at, and they were looked at, and that's why all the issues came up from those allegations.
Jumping over to another topic, what would you do to improve communications between the clerk's office and other stakeholders?
Well, that's one of the key issues. You know, you have to have good communication. The clerk of court, you have to deal with a lot of elected officials in that building. You know, the sheriff's has an office that they work out of that office. You have the state attorney, who's an elected official who works out of that office. Public defender worked out of that courthouse, and that's an elected official. And then all the judges work out of there. So good communication with everybody is the key to have a good running clerk's court. Like, I worked there for 10 years, and I knew sometimes there's no communication between elected officials from one department to another, and there was always issues going on. So the key there to have a good functioning courthouse is you have to have good communications to see what the expectations are from those other officials. What is it that the state attorney wants? What is the public defender wants? The judges, you know, all that stuff is key to having a good functioning clerk of court. And that's something that I've experienced, and something I'm going to work on.
Do you have any specific ideas as to how you would do that, whether it would be through, I don't know, meetings or just better yes, communication specific?
No, you have meeting with judges, you know, and you will know what to expect. I know a lot of the judges like to work with specific clerks, right? Because once you build a working relationship with that clerk, they know what to expect, and the judges don't have to struggle with a new clerk moving in and taking over. If you have the same working clerk, you know how the judges work, you know what they need to see in the screen, and the judges are happy, right? But when you start moving clerks from one courtroom to a different location and to a different location, that's when issues happen, because the judge is expecting certain things. This clerk is not expecting something. So I understand the reasoning behind, you know, trying to move clerks around so they could experience other departments and learn that way. But I believe the judges want stability. And so that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to work with judges to give stability on certain things. I want the clerks to master their position wherever they're in. If it's civil, if it's criminal, if it's working with judges, I want them focused in that position, not various positions. You know, I'll have clerks that were trained in different locations, just in case this one has to call in. But for the meantime, I want clerks learning and mastering their positions so the judges and other officials that work there know what they're getting into.
This next question plays into what you've been doing for quite some time now. Do you believe that the clerk should be involved in discussions about courthouse security? And do you believe that the Osceola County's court facilities are adequately secure?
Anything that has to do with the clerk of court, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to fall on the clerk's office, you know, the clerk of court. So yes, you should have a voice on it. But the clerk security is also dealt with by court administration and board of county commissioners. So as a clerk of court, they do have the say on who does security, but you as a clerk has input and has a voice on who do you want their security. It's not always about getting the best bid, because then you have issues. You know, right now you have a separate company doing security when other counties have corrections facility doing it, or some counties have sheriffs running the security at the courthouse. So that's something that has to be looked at, but it has to be worked on with the board of county commissioners who run that and court administration, because at the end of the day, security falls on them. But my job is to push for better security and find ways to have a secure building.
Thank you. Switching gears a bit, in your opinion, is the clerk doing enough to expand access for people who don't speak English?
I'm not aware if he's done extra things for people who are Spanish speaking. I know the first time I ran, that was one of my goals, because I worked at the courthouse for 10 years and I experienced the struggles that people have. Now, the court offers interpreters for criminal cases, and it's been like that for years since I know, but the court doesn't offer interpreters for civil cases, right? So on civil cases, what happens is if they don't understand what's going on, they need to bring on their own interpreter or try to struggle through it. But that delays the court, because the judges are trying to give these people a chance to explain themselves, right? And because of the language barrier, it takes longer and longer. So not only are they not understanding what's going on, it's delaying the process for the next hearing, because you take a lot more time with the Spanish speakers. So providing an interpreter for civil cases is key. They'll understand and they'll move along, because everybody's understanding and everybody's getting the same treatment. So I believe that's still one of my goals, is to provide interpreters for civil cases. It's going to help move along the caseload, and it's going to help Spanish speakers.
We've talked a lot about courtroom related issues. Obviously, another very large part of this job is the county's the county commission's official recorder and comptroller. How active should the clerk be in his interactions with the county commission? Some clerks are very active and almost act as a auxiliary commissioner. Others take a very hands-off approach and only do their duties as prescribed by law. Where would you fall on that spectrum?
I'm going to do an overall look at how it's currently being handled. I know in 2020, it's the responsibility of the clerk's office to become the comptroller. Now, there's some clerks that sign an agreement and let the board of county commissioners still handle that position. So, you know, but the voters voted in that clerk of court should be the comptroller. So that's something that has to be looked at to see how it's being handled once I get in that office. Now, you do have other issues. It's employees that work for the comptrollers. If they're working out of the county commissioners meeting across the street, we may need to house them in our building, but that's something internal that could be worked on. But on my issues, I'm gonna take a look at how it's being handled, and if I feel that it needs to stay with the clerk's court, that's the way it's gonna be. I don't know. I think there's an agreement right now that board of county commissioners is handling the comptroller's office, but that's something that has to be looked at, because at the end of the day, the voters voted. There was a vote, and the clerk of court is the responsible for the clerk of court and the comptrollers. So if anything goes bad with the comptroller's office, at the end of the day, it's going to fall on the clerk of court. You sign an agreement to let somebody else handle that position, but if something is mismanaged, then is your name on it. So my approach would be to attempt to keep that with the clerk of court, because that's what the voters wanted.
Thank you. We have talked about a couple of specific constituencies and how they would be taken care of. But in general, what more would you do as the clerk to make the office more consumer friendly?
Well, first of all, one of the biggest issues that I've seen and I've heard when I'm talking to people is that they don't want to go to the clerk's office to get questions answered when they can do it over the phone. The problem is the phones are taking an hour, hour and a half on hold to get somebody to talk to them. And sometimes the phones disconnect, so you have to start doing it again. And now people have to take days off of work or find some time to actually go to the courthouse to try to get some of the stuff down. I want to fix that. I want to have a dedicated phone team that deals strictly with answering phone calls to alleviate that wait time. And that's going to help the community not have to waste time on taking a day off of work to drive to the courthouse. Some people live in Harmony, Keaningsville, Hollow Paw. That's a long drive. And if they could get things done over the phone and get their questions answered, it will help a lot of the situation. People could do it from their lunch break, and we don't have to take a day off to go to the courthouse. So some of those issues are going to be looking at. And also with attorneys, attorneys want to file paperwork and want to have those documents inputted right away. There's a delay. There's a delay on it. Not just with filing paperwork like notice to appears and stuff like that. Even citations, the sheriff's office. As me as a deputy, if I issue a citation, right, that citation, the driver has 30 days to pay a citation. And those citations there's a delay of 20, 30 days of getting those citations put in. And when people are trying to pay the citations, it's not in the system. So that's something that has to be looked at. We have to get a team working to start getting those things caught up. So when people do try to pay citations or do stuff, they can do it right there. They don't have to risk getting their license suspended or getting the warrants because a document wasn't filed properly or in time with the clerk's court.
Thank you so much. We have covered a lot of ground, but I'm wondering if there are any other priorities that you have for the office that we haven't touched on. And as always, we do ask you to address this without attacking your opponent. There's certainly, you've offered some criticism and some suggestions, and that is certainly within the realm of challenging an incumbent. You talking about what you would do differently, so that's fine. So if you can just give us an idea of anything that we haven't talked about yet that you would like to address.
Sure. I want to be able to keep and retain and improve the employee morale there. I believe that's very important to having a good functioning clerk's court. If you have employees that want to be there, they will do a good job. You won't have a high turnover. You have people with experience not leaving. So those are things I want to work on also. I want to build a good working environment in there, people that are happy to be there, people that are going to be there for a long time and not try to go to another position. So I am looking to fix some of those issues that I've been approached about employee morale. And that's something that I believe I could easily get done right away.
Thank you very much. And before we go to your closing statement, I wanted to remind the people who are watching this video that the Sentinel will be making a recommendation in this race, but we don't expect that to be the only thing that influences your decision and your vote. We urge you to take a good look at all the candidates in this race, both candidates in this race, our news coverage, any websites and social media, any local forums. There are many, many sources of information, including our excellent news coverage. You'll have other opportunities to meet both of these candidates and get an idea of which one best represents your view and your priorities for the clerk's office and for the county government, controller and and records custodian functions. And most importantly, make sure that you are registered to vote. You've only got a little more than a week to do that. And then remember that vote on or before November 5th. You can vote by mail, you can vote at early voting, or you can vote at the precincts on election day. So with that, Mr. Lorenzo, if you could give us a pitch as to why you should be the clerk in the next term.
Thank you. Well, I've been a resident for Osceola County for over 30 years. I've been serving the community for about 20 years as a deputy sheriff. I spent 10 years inside the courthouse. I know what's going on with the issues of the courthouse. I know what the people want to see fixed and improved at the courthouse. I don't consider myself a politician. As a politician, I probably won't be good at it. But as the clerk of court, I'll tell you, I'll be one of the best clerks of court here in Osceola County. I mean, here in the state of Florida. One of the things, my campaign is funded 90% by me. I don't have anyone trying to tell me how to run the office. I'm trying to do this on my own so I don't get influenced by other people. So my job is to work and improve the clerk's office for you guys to have a better clerk's office. I want the employees there to be happy working with the office, and I want to reduce those wait times that you guys are so concerned of. So please do your research. The past clerk who's running again, you could do his research. He's already been there almost 4 years, and I know I'm new, but you could reach out to current employees, attorneys, people that you may think have knowledge of the clerk's office, and give their input. I'll ask for your vote this November. Vote Jossue Lorenzo for Osceola County Clerk of Court. And let's make those improvements that are needed here in the clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was really a very enjoyable discussion, and we wish you the best of luck.